this tutorial on forms and validations. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Too late, it's on. Skip the first 5 seconds. Great. So let's do this show. What do we need from the model in the show? Equals to scout. Right? We need to find the actual item, right? By the ID, which comes across inside the URL, if you remember. And that is going to be a get to / scouts using the ID, right? And this is where the params come from. Questions, comments, concerns? Code challenge on Friday. Questions? All right, good, awesome. I'm not worried about you guys. Great. Model, response. What is the response? We're gonna render this show. Cool. So really quickly, just build it out. App, views, scouts, show.herb. 1, show me the scout. Right? So, winning love by, is it daylight? It's fighting evil by daylight, right? Winning love by moonlight, right? Great, very good. So, it's class. Thought you guys were with me. All right, what are the attributes of this scout? What file can I check? Schema, do I have one? No, y'all so busy trying to fly through the lesson, right? See, this is the importance of testing, right? Like if I test everything, then I'll catch it. So, Rails DB migrate. Cool. Boom, done. So I have a schema. I can just rip this. Give me that, Chris Brown. Thank you. Wow. There's an artist by the name Chris Brown who's done a lot more than just make music. He also dances. Didn't want to go there, but we did. Anyways, he has a song that came out a long time ago called Give Me That. And I basically say it for no reason all the time, right? So I'm all like, ooh, planet. And then I'm like, give me that, Chris Brown. And then I'll say, gimme, gimme, gimme. Great. So we have planet, we have age, and we have the hair color, right? So this is color. Right? Is this good practice what I'm doing right now? Right? What is the thing that we should do? So we should do form for inside the show page, then do.flabel. Right? You guys are trying to pattern match. You just do a label tag. Right? Do a label tag. Do you remember this? I went over this when I did the form tag, then the label tag, then the text field tag, then the submit tag. Oh. Well, I guess that's my fault. There's a label tag. Cool. And then you can just tell it what to give a label for, right? Like planet. Or like planet. Let's see what happens. Boop, 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 boop. How can I test this show page? Almost got me again. Almost got me. How can I test the show page? There we go. Now you're getting it. There is no scout, right? So you see how it doesn't really matter the order, essentially? If you test everything, you will wind up doing everything. Does that make sense? Cool. Just wanted to show that to you, that like, you don't have to memorize the order of things. Don't panic. If you do something and you test it, you'll recognize, oh snap, I don't have this, let me go build that. Oh snap, I don't have that, let me go build that. And eventually, you'll build everything. Is that fair? Cool. So let's do that. Rails C. We can take the scout, and we can create the scout. So what is this first scout? What is the planet for this scout? Mercury. Is that right? Huh, wow, that was a lucky guess. What, age? I don't know, 1,000. When you guys code, I'm gonna look right over your shoulder. The second you miss a comma, I'm like, hey, comma. Ooh, I can't wait to sit it on your blogs. No, I'm just kidding. Hair color, right? No, this is good. You guys are paying attention, and that's arguably more important. Cool. What's the hair color? Is it? I thought it was red. It's blue? Wow, that seemed like a very confident answer, and I'm going to accept it. Cool. Do we want to make another one? Just one more for funsies? Yeah, sure. Mars. And how old is Mars? A little bit older, not by much, right? Oh, whoa, whoa. Surprised I didn't get yelled at. I'm just kidding, you guys are a fun class. Red? I think it's red. This one's red. Jesus. Like more black. Great. Great color. Cool. All right, are we good on this data? I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it. Cool. So let's get back to this. Boom. All right. So if we look at the label tag, we see it was in fact a label for planet. Cool. As indicated as such. Are there any questions on the label tag? Awesome. Great. Please don't do this, right? You want to like make these labels for everything. Let's just do it. Let's do it. Let's do it right. Boom. Boom. Age. Boom. Hair. Color. Let's get rid of that. Bloop, bloop. Bloop, 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 bloop. Gone. All right, great. See if it works, and it does. Great. So, let's go back to the controller, and let's figure out this new action. What do I need from the model? Do I need anything? Sometimes I don't, right? You don't actually always need something from the model. And if you can't think of it, right, it's got to equal add scout equals to scout.new. Does everyone know why we do this? All right, for the form 4, I'm going to pass in the empty object for form 4. Cool. So let me render real quick new. Ja.
That's how form 4 knows that it's for.
Exactly. You figured it out. Isn't it great when things are named well? So good, so good. But that would have been a really good question that you answered yourself because the naming is so good. Awesome. So how can we build this new page? Yeah? Ja? Right here? Are you there, Ja? It's me, Ross Trent. New scout power. Cool. Cool. I know that's not how you spell it. Please leave me alone. Bunch of bullies. Cool. Is this cool? You guys want to start from scratch, or you want that little template action? You guys want that? You want that little template action? Scratch? Ooh, that's bold. Let's do it. All right. Cool. How do I do it? At scout. Ooh, you got bailed out on that one. Bailed out. What's next? Ooh. Thank you. I actually forgot. So that would have been. Yeah? Now I was going to test you guys. Testing you guys. Ah, that was really embarrassing. All right. Look, I know you guys are bullies now, but when you get to JavaScript, guess who's teaching you JavaScript? We're going to go back to Rails, and you're going to be like, oh my God, I forgot Rails. And then that's where I'm going to get you. Oh, Form 4? What's that for? And then I'm going to help you. It's fun. Cool, so what do we do? Squid F. Squid. Nope, didn't work. I thought it would work. I don't know why. Carrot? Ice cream cones? Nah, that didn't work. All right, that was embarrassing. Cool. F dot. Label? Nice. Nice. And what's this label for? Planet, right? If you look on the bottom left corner of the screen, it should help you. Bloop, bloop, bloop. All right, cool. Bloop, bloop. Right? A little bit of this action, a little age action. A little hair color action, cool. And then text field for a planet. Go planet. Man, I'm feeling really 90s today. Can anyone name that? Yo, I heard he's a hero. I do. And on top of that, huh? Don't want that crappy user experience, right? Great. He's a hero. He's gonna take pollution. Wow. I got unnecessarily happy for that. Cool. How do I actually hit this route? What is the route to get this new page? /scout/new, right? I'm glad that you all are actually like saying the full thing and that my berating lectures have been like honed in. Cool. I hope you guys don't think I'm mean, right? Most of the time I'm making fun of myself. The entire time I'm making fun of myself. So, cool. Form looks good. Too easy, right? Shouldn't have any confusion as to this form. We went over it yesterday, which automatically means you're masters of it, right? You only need a couple hours. Please don't take that seriously, right? It takes a long time to absorb this material. And my suggestion is please eat, please sleep, please shower. Studies have shown when you shower, eat, and sleep, that you retain information better. When you like actually get through the REM, you literally build these like neuron pathways, like brain cells and smartness. Cool. It takes time. It takes time. So don't like beat yourself up, right? You just learned it. So the fact that you're going this fast is very impressive. And Captain Planet references, class is on fire. Cool. So does it make sense? Should I literally be able to hit this button and create the scout? All right. Well, let's find out. In my create action, what is the code that goes here? How do I create a brand new scout? A sailor scout. Scout dot. Why at scout, right? Like I don't want you guys to fall into this pattern matching thing. Like why at scout? Will we need this in the view? Yes? Great. Let's just do it up. Cool. At scout dot. Passing in the, which, I mean, I'm obviously gonna have to create this, right? Cool. And as we talked about before, it should be, right? Private. Actually, I think that might break. Like, I think it'll read this as an argument. So we'll just add a little comment there. Private. Cool. Cool, 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 cool. All right. So what should we build now? Inside the private. All right, the scout params, right? Great. And what goes in here? The params require scout, skiz out, dot permit. What? What do we want to permit? Planet, age, hair color, right? What does this do? What does this require scout? Why do I write this? Correct. I'm looking specifically for the hash. Within params, there's a key called scout that points to its own hash with all the attributes that I got, which, luckily for me, the form for will do for me. As we've noticed inside the form tag, I had to manually build it. Do you remember? I mean, you don't have to be able to do it from scratch, but if you remember that, I had to manually do it with the form tag. So again, one of those differences. So in terms of this, right, let's just say for whatever reason, my data was nested one more level. What do you think we should do? I'm seeing a lot of like this, but I don't know what that means. What, bracket scout like this? right? Like something like nested. Do you think that'll work? Right? Whatever nested might come up, right? Yeah, I mean, that'll work, actually. You can probably require again, however you want to do it. Cool? I just wanted you to get out of this idea that like we're just gonna pattern match. That like, hey, I've always seen it written this way and it works. When you hear that, ask yourself, do I really understand? Often, the answer is no. If you hear someone give you an answer like, I've always done this, or this is how I've seen it done and it works, does that mean that you understand? Probably not, right? So when you write your code, just be sure you understand what it's doing and why you need it. Yeah. Params? I don't want to go into how we can create that right now, but there are times where, let's just say in the form 4, it comes across this way, but there will be a time where you will be receiving params that come from something like this. It'll look like this. You have an object, which is nested. Inside data, inside children, which is an array, is a massive hash with kind, with another nested data, finally giving you the data that you want. So when you require, you want to go into data, into children, into data again, then permitting params this way. So you see, do you understand this idea that it won't always be flat? And I want to prepare you for that, for the future. Did that answer your question? Awesome. Cool. It would take too much to like go into a tangent to like build it with form. So
the splat arms that would be if we didn't want to like let everyone edit something.
splat.
They want to access all of the attributes.
Are you talking about putting in splat here
As an argument
for
for the scout params.
literally star here?
Scout params.
Oh, here. You want an argument of star? Star args?
That allows us to do, that means that we can call scout params with only like that and age and leave out hair color.
That would mean that if you were to do this, right? Because apparently a lot of you want to know this. If you were to do this, that means that you have to call scout params with arguments. And then you would have to specify what those arguments are here. I would tell you that while your thought process is 100% correct, and the idea of being able to do something like that is useful, I would avoid it specifically in this exact instance for whitelisting params. Because why we use strong params, right, is because the internet is scary and full of hacksaws, right? And I never want to ever use like this star argument because I can then manipulate it on the front end. I can send certain arguments that will then get automatically passed in here and then ultimately permit whatever I want anyway. So it defeats the purpose of whitelisting hard-coded values. Because think about it, right? If I were to say, this is the idea, and I want to go on this tangent because you want to, all right? And that is arg1, arg2. And you want to use star args. And this is going to be, let's follow through. Let's follow through, right? All the way. Where do these come from? Hmm? Where does this come from? I can make it come from the form if I want to. So that means that the user is going to submit custom attributes, which will go into this method, which will then allow custom attributes to be permitted in the database. Do I want my user to determine what attributes get stored in my database? So yeah, I would avoid this for the strong params. Now, if you're programming Ruby in general and you're doing meta programming and you don't know how many arguments are coming in a particular method, that is a good abstraction. But for this specifically, I would avoid it. Yeah.
If you put in dev scout params, asterisk args, and then permitted asterisk args, but then when you're doing create, you hard code in the passages like colon, h, and colon planet. That cannot be manipulated by the user.
That is exactly correct. What you are saying is, I can hard code here the values, right? And then use this as an argument and then pass it in here. That's what you're saying. 100% correct. How is that more or less or the same efficient than this way?
So when you want to update, but then
Let's answer that question first, right?
when we it would be efficient to use that what you said.
Oh, okay, got it. So when we use update, that's when it would be?
It'd be efficient if you want all those attributes, but I was thinking if there's certain methods where you want different one attribute and another method you want to use two attributes, and the other one you want to use three attributes, then I'd say it's useful. Otherwise, if you're going to just use it for the same the full attribute list, then keep it the way you do it.
Absolutely. So you're saying is if we use this for like update or another method that will take in random arguments, I will say it is better to be more explicit in your method naming than it would be a random number of arguments. Because here's what's going to happen according to you. Update, right? What you want to do is you want to pass in, right, all the args. Here, you want to pass in all the args. Is everyone following along? And you want to have star args here, right? Whenever I do update, if there are attributes that I specifically want to use, I'm going to pass them in here. That's what you're saying, right? No? What are you saying?
I wasn't able to say the concept. I just asked them.
Okay.
But I think you don't want to use all of them. Let's say you only want to use two.
Right. What I'm saying is you're passing in the arguments here, right? And you're passing in arguments here, right? It doesn't have to be all, like one or two, right?
Wouldn't that be more efficient than, let's say, you have it locked in the scout parameters, you have to always use those three?
It is better to do this for security. It's better to do this for security because what's happening is you are controlling, the user controls what gets passed in. If you hard code them here, you're still looking for params. You're still looking for params here. Were you able to clarify what you wanted to ask? Okay. I would say, and I'm telling you, it is better to create separate methods. So you'll have something like the create scout params, and then you will create a separate method. That is the update scout params. It is better to name your methods. It is better to name your methods more appropriately than it would be to build it for security purposes where it can take in separate number of attributes inside here. Because you're removing the fact that it's private. These are all called on the public. It is better to extract it into the private.
Is that like sort of a way of compromising like being dry for security?
Yeah. You're sacrificing being dry for security. And I will tell you, 3-4 lines for security, I'll take that any day. Are there any other questions? Did I answer the star args question or anything like that? These are really good questions. Awesome. Let's continue. So, let's see. Now that we've gotten this, right, we can go right back to our Scouts new. What happens when I hit create scout? Right, I can just create it and it'd be like, cool. Why is it down? I have a weird thing, I'll fix it. Cool, just creates and then it literally does nothing. That's weird. What should it do? Redirect to where? At scout? Just scout? Actually, both will work, but that's cool. At scout. Cool. So to the question earlier, am I using the scout inside the view page? Should I create an instance variable for this? Okay, cool. So no instance variable, right? Good to go. So remember, just avoid the pattern matching. So let's do this, ready? If I refresh and I hit create scout, it's gonna literally make it. And I'm on scout 4. I'm gonna go back, I hit create scout, I'm now on 5, which is terrible, right? Like literally, if I go into my console and check all my scouts, I will see, in fact, 5 scouts, all with nil values. That's terrible, right? That's not a good thing for my database to have. So I want to be able to prevent that. I want to be able to validate the data that's coming across. So Rails has some powerful things. Rails validations, right? It's amazing. Why use validations? Validations are used to ensure that only valid data is saved into your database. What a great definition. How do we use this? You can scroll through and actually read all of this, which is like important documentation. But for the purpose of lecture, I will just tell you, right? What we want to check to see is, and the idea here is that we want to see that there's something there, right? That we cannot create this scout without a planet, without an age, and without a hair color. Actually, you know, we'll leave hair color alone because, you know, what if he or she is bald, right? Like you don't want to discriminate. Or put none, whatever, right? So let's just use planet and age. So for planet, what are we really trying to validate in terms of not being blank? How would you describe a not blank field? Right? Like that it exists, right? So of all these words, right, if you kind of look through them, it's either absence or presence, right? We're trying to validate that it does exist, so let's take a look at presence. Cool. Cool. Inside the model, I literally put validates the attribute that I want, presence true. Cool. Let's copy that and go inside our model. Bloop, bloop. And then we see simply presence true. So I need to do what? What do I want to change here? Right, like name? Oh, I'm sorry, planet. Oh, wow. Even I got suckered in. Cool. So planet, right? let's test this and see what happens. So if I were to go back to this new action and refresh, oh, I killed the server. Terrible. Oops. Shh. Class. Cool. If I were to hit create scout, what do you think will happen? Let's take a look at the logs, right? This is the Rails logs that's happening. If I hit create scout, it tries to save, and then it says rollback 500. 500 means that the server rejected it and that it's bad. And it says literally internal server error. Cool? It failed. So, how can we check that? Well, let's do this. Inside the create action, I can literally drop a buy bug. Do you want a buy bug on 19? Do you want a buy bug here or here? Here or here? A or B? Let's use B, right? I'm sorry. Cool. So if we go back, and I refresh, and I hit create scout, I should hit the buy bug. And here I am, rocky like a hurricane. Let's see what happened with scout, because that code ran, right? We put the buy bug afterwards. So what is scout? It looks like it didn't actually save. That's weird. What went wrong? Scout.errors. We can see what went wrong. We check the errors of the scout. Wow. It looks like there's some sort of attribute called messages on this, and it tells you what's wrong. Well, there's a way that we can grab these, and we can ask the errors for their full messages. And you literally get an array of all of the errors. You can literally check it by seeing class, and it says array. So you know what you're working with there. You can check the index. Boom, planet can't be blank. What a crazy good, I feel Italian, what a crazy good validation, right? What error message to be had. Now we need to be able to utilize this somehow. So let's take a look. I can do scout.errors.full messages. And what do I get here? What is this again one more time? It's an array of errors, right? Do I want this in the view? Do I want the errors in the view? Who says, no, don't pass those error messages into the view? Who says, please pass those error messages into the view? Yes, I need to pass the error message into the view so that the view can then render the error messages. That only makes sense to me. So I could do something like @errors. This is what I want to pass in, right? This I actually want in the view, so I'm going to make it an instance variable. But let's take a look. Bloop. Oh, I'm in the buy bug. All right, let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of the buy bug. Bloop. Oh, let's refresh again. So when I hit create scout, what happens? Some sort of error? Weird. But let's check the logs. Let's clear the logs, start to finish, and see what happens. All right? I do a get to scout's new. I hit create scout. It fails, and then it tries to go somewhere. And it fails right here. Why does this fail? Well, it's saying the controller is scouts, but the ID is nil, which makes sense because, let's think about this. I'm telling the scout path to go to the ID of scout. If this never saves to the database, what is the ID of something that does not save to the database? Nil. So it will try to go to a get to /scouts/nil. Right? Does that route exist? Tricky question. Yes. Because this right here means any value. The problem is, what is the value of ID? Nil. So it will in fact hit this. And then it will do this. Scout.find params of nil. This will break. Then inside render show, nil.planet, nil.age, nil.hair color. That's what breaks. Does that make sense?
Does it still go to render show if add scale isn't found? Like in the dev show, if add scale.
It'll break right here. It'll just say that this is nil. It'll error right here. This is the error that you get, right? When you try to do find by params of nil. And then it'll break here. Yeah, it'll just be like, oh, what the? And it'll stop. Cool. So what we want to do instead is maybe let's go to a path that exists, right? Like a scout's path. Cool? Something that will exist either way. Do I have the scout's path? What is the scout's path? Index, right? Do I have the route? Let's just throw that bad Johnson in there. Cool. Now it's going to go to the scout's path. Do I have this index method? Cool. All I'm going to do is put at scouts equals to scout.all. And then I'm going to render index. Let me build index super fast so we have it. And it's just going to say, ha, you made it to the index. I'm not even going to build it out. I just need the page to exist. Cool? So let's do this one more time and check the logs. Ready? Let's clear this. And I'd hit a refresh, which will give me a get to scouts new. Oh, let me just throw that back over. I don't need this. Cool, get to scouts new, right? If I create scouts, it's going to go to what route? Post to /scouts, exactly. Post to /scouts. It will fail. It will redirect. Why does it redirect? Because I literally told it to. I said, hey, redirect. So it's doing what I'm telling it to do. It does a redirect, which gives me a status 300, and you'll learn more about status codes. And then it does a brand new GET request. Do you see that? And then it renders index. Ha! You made its index. Very good. Be good. But what happened to those errors? They're gone. Like, I never really use them anywhere. Did you see me write @errors anywhere in the view page? No. What would make sense? Where would you want those errors displayed? You probably want them displayed back on that create page. So let's do this. Let's do a redirect to the, right, what is it? New scout path. Is that the new path? I actually forget. Should be like new scout path. Does anyone like actually know what it is off the top of their head? Is new scout path? All right, well, let's find out. Create, boom. And it in fact brings me right back to this new page. But do I see the errors? No, that's weird. Not really, because probably I'm not using @errors anywhere. So let's actually go into the new and use the @errors. So let's do this. @errors equals to, right? No. Why would we reassign errors? Like, don't follow me blindly. Cool. So @errors is what? What data structure is @errors? An array. .each do with the error. This is Ruby. And all I want to do is put inside like a p tag the actual error. So far, so good? Yeah? That's a very good point. Let's take a look. This was created in create, right? And then I said, hey, inside the new path, go to the new path. Does this exist? Let's find out. There's a couple things. There's a lot of things wrong with what we just did. I want to break down everything, but I need you to follow the logic, and then I need you to understand why it does not work. In the new, I'm rendering errors, right? So let's check it out. If I refresh on this new, should I see something here? No, right? Let's think this through. On the Scouts controller, when I refresh, what does it hit? This new action. Does @errors exist inside this new action? No, it doesn't. Therefore, @errors inside the new is nil. It does no value. Can you call .each on something that has no value? No, it'll break. Literally undefined method each for nil class, which makes sense because when I first did the refresh, I hit the new action, and @errors does not exist. Therefore, in the new, @errors does not exist, right? In the first refresh. So I have to do something called nil wrapping, and that is simply checking if @errors dot exists, then do this. Does that make sense? I have to see if it exists first. So if I refresh now, I don't think exists works, yeah. Yeah, .any? I think so. Let's do this. If @errors equal to nil, right? I'll do this, sorry. It's not equal to nil. Oop. That should work. Cool, right? Like you're just checking to see, hey, does this not equal to nil? I'm like nil wrapping it. I'm checking to see if it's nil. I'm wrapping that whole method, this whole logic in something. This is nil wrapping. Remember the truthiness of Ruby. Does nil evaluate to true or false? False, right? So if @errors is nil, it will evaluate to false, and this will never run anyway. So you don't actually have to do that check, and that should work either way. Cool? So that's how we can get past that first error. Are there any questions on nil wrapping? Awesome. If I hit create scout now, let's follow it along. Create scout does a post to /scouts, which we'll find in the routes. Inside of resources, it'll do a post to /scouts, hitting the create action. Therefore, in my create, this will fail. It'll create this @errors and then redirect. So, and it did. It just redirected. But where are my errors? Let's take a look at the logs and see what happens. Ready? I'm going to refresh. I'm doing a get. I do a post to /scouts, hitting the Scouts controller. It fails, and then it redirects me, and I get a brand new get request. Do a brand new get request. So in this brand new get request, does errors exist? No. Let's introduce a new thing. Ready? Instead of redirecting, can I simply render the new right here? Can I render the new here? Let's find out. If I refresh and I hit create, what happens? There's no @scout. So let me add that painfully. @scout equals to scout.new. So far, so good. You see like why I'm doing this? Cool. If I refresh, now I see this error message. But let's refresh again. Cool. Oh, that's bad. New. The first time I go to new, I hit this, and it renders new. So far, so good. When I hit create, it's going to hit this. I'm going to do a brand new new. This is because I'm going to render new later. I try to create. It will fail. I now have this instance variable, which I then render new. Does render do a brand new request? Let's check. Let's clear the logs. and I will simply refresh to get a brand new GET request. I will create Scout, and it will post to Scouts, fail, and then immediately render the ERB. Did I get a brand new request? I did not. There's no brand new request here. It's simply rendered, exactly like I told it to. And if that happens, then we can take a look at scouts_new.erb. So remember, @errors gets created. It renders new. In my new, does errors exist? Yes, and so it shows. Are there any questions on how I was able to get that error message to show? Why I created inside my create action @scout equals scout.new. Why I changed this from a redirect to a render? Yeah. No problem. Render does not trigger a brand new request. So @errors, when I finish the create, the instance variable exists. So when I render new, I go inside my new, right? So does @errors exists after I hit the create? Great, and then it will just iterate through and display them. Yeah. So let's follow up, yeah?
So, but that would be used when it's valid, it's still rendered.
Correct. The problem is, if I put something that's valid, it will just render new. Do you want to do that? No. So the logic here then becomes like, hey, if it actually saves, do something, but if it doesn't save, render new. Does that make sense? That's how I can get there. So what I want to do is something like an if, right? The scout.create is successful. If this, right? That kind of looks weird. Oh, let's do that. Oh, just kidding. Let's do this. If, right? Scout.valid. This is checking to see whether or not it saves to the database, right? If scout.valid. Then what I really wanted to do is probably do what I told it to do initially, and that is redirect to the Scout page. Scout path, Scout, whatever you want to do. Either one will work. Any questions on why I did this? I checked to see if it actually saved, and then I redirected. That makes sense. However, if it doesn't save, I probably want some @scout_new because I'm going to render the new form, and I don't want that to break. And then I need the errors, and then it's going to render new. Are there any questions on just this? Let's test this out. Ready? Okay. What's the error? Do I have too many ends? Oh, I didn't end the if else. Yeah. Smart. Cool. So I get this, and I hit create scout, and boom, it renders, and it's totally fine. But what if I actually make something that works, right? Like captain. I don't know. 2. And the hair color is, I think, green. Captain Planet's green hair. So if I create this, it will, boom, it directs me to the show page. So far, so good? Cool. So what I don't want to do is always have to like recreate this @scout. It would be nice to redirect to the new page, right? And then it's like the new Scout path, I think, yeah. This is what I want to do. I want to get rid of this, and I want to use this redirect. That's the idea, because it doesn't make sense that I just create this empty new one just because I need it in the render. So a new topic that I want to introduce is something known as stateless requests. HTTP requests, HTTP requests are stateless. And I put these in quotes because all it means is that one request does not know anything about the previous request. As a student had put it several mods ago, what happens in the request stays in the request. Therefore, errors. This happens in the post request. When I do a brand new GET request, does @errors follow? No, it doesn't, because what happens in the request stays in the request. @errors does not follow. What we want is, we want these errors to last one more request. Right? We want this data to persist one extra request. So far, so good. Like, do you see like the struggle and the idea? I'm going to introduce something to you. It's called the flash hash. The flash hash. And the flash hash is just a regular old hash. Meaning I can take it and say dolphin. This is flash at a key of dolphin, and I want it to be equal to the array of error messages. Are there any questions on how I was able to just create a key on the flash hash? The flash hash exists globally. Rails will build this for you. The flash hash exists globally. Are there any questions on the flash hash and how I was able to just create a random key? Does dolphin make sense as the key for the flash hash if it's holding errors? What would be the name of the key you would want to use to hold errors? Something like errors, right? Or let's just use boo-boos. Boo-boos, cool, right? Flash at a key of boo-boos, fine, right? It's a really fun class, cool. If I redirect to the new scout path, remember, there's a brand new request, but flash will persist one extra request. Therefore, inside the new scout path, it's going to do what action? The new. Inside the new, instead of this @errors, I can change this to flash at a key of boo-boos, and it should work the same. So let's take a look. I'm here on my first request. Nothing wild, nothing crazy, nothing breaks, right? Because I nil checked it. Then I try to create scout, and I get this error message. Watch what happens inside the logs. I make a brand new GET request. I try to create, it fails, it redirects and starts a brand new GET request. Flash persisted this one extra request. And therefore, when it rendered new, did flash exist at a key of boo-boos? Yes. So when it rendered new, this existed. If you know that the flash hash persists one extra request, right? If I were to refresh the page, is that a brand new GET request to new? If I refresh the page, is that a brand new GET request to new? Yes. Therefore, should I see the error messages? No, because that would be the second request to the new. And it in fact disappears. Huh? It is super user-friendly. Are there any questions on the flash hash? Persisting one extra request. Nil wrapping. Great. Let's actually just fix this. You guys want to leave it at boo-boos? You do? Sure. All right, look, just for sanity's sake, just when you're writing your app, just change it to like errors or something. Error messages, like something that's a little bit more readable. I've been talking like this for a while. Jason's got me. Cool. Does this make sense, everybody? Great. I'm going to go into a 2-second tangent as to why this is preferable over the render. Okay? Why this is preferable over the render. So I'm going to just simply do this. And I'm going to do this instead. At errors, right? And I'm going to do a render of new. I also need to bring this back, right? Do you see the difference here and here? I need to bring the scout back because new is expecting it. Cool? I want you to pay attention really quickly to the route. If I were to create the scout, that's not why. First argument from cannot be nil or empty. I didn't save. Sorry. Oh, that's embarrassing. Cool. So, at scout, I make the errors. I render new. Ready? Look. Take a look. I obviously then have to change this to at errors for it to work. All right, you follow me? I should change this to at errors for it to work. I'm not going to do that because it's not important. What I want you to focus on is the route. What happens when I click create scout and it fails? It changes to /scouts. The reason it does that is because where does the form post to? /scouts. It will change the route based on the form and then render new. Render new does not make a new request and it will not change the URL. Meaning, as a user experience, if my user does not successfully create and leaves the planet blank for some reason because I have a validation in there, hits create scout, it brings me to /scouts. Therefore, if the user decides to refresh the page, they will see index, which will not make sense to them. Imagine you're on a form and you're trying to log in and you're like, great, let me go log into GitHub real quick, and you put your password in wrong. And then it came back and it's like, hey, you put wrong name, username, password. You're like, great. And then you refreshed and you went to a different page. Would that make any sense to you? The user would be entirely lost. Do you see why that happens? What the difference is? The user experience that you create. Okay. So this is the main reason why I say that this is preferable. However, if you do it this way, I will say, great, cool, it works. You know what you're doing. But I will ask you questions about both of them. I will need you to be able to explain them to me, what they do. I know we're really close to lunch, so I'll give you a choice. Do you want to power about 5 minutes into lunch to get into custom validation, custom error messages, or would you like to pick this up for 10 minutes after lunch? Just power through. Eat lunch. Just power through. Cool. All right, I'm going to move kind of quick just because we want to power through. If I go back, all I have to do is look up Rails, literally custom validations. I keep looking out the window because there's like this eyewitness news, and I think that something really cool is going to happen. You know what? This is so much cooler. What am I doing? All right. Custom validators, right? Great. And it says custom validators, like literally a chapter on it. It could tell you how to create them inside the model. And then there's something called custom methods. We'll be focusing on custom methods for now. I think one of the labs asked you to do all this. If you have questions on it, I'd be happy to answer. But for the sake of simplicity's sake, we'll just go right into custom methods. And you can see, can you guys see this? It's like small on my screen, but I don't know what it looks like up there. So I'm just going to blow it up a little bit. Is that better? Great. If you can't see, just say something. Like I sometimes don't know what that looks like. So Boom. Inside the model, it says validate with no S, and it takes some sort of symbol referencing a method that I built in the model. So let's do that. In my Scouts model, I can put instead validate, right, a custom one, and say, I don't know. My favorite color is purple, so let's just build this like, every Scout must be purple haired, whatever, right? Unless there's like a custom model validation you want to do. Fine, so perp hair, cool? Meaning I must define something in my model called perp hair. And what this does is, this is the Boolean, like, hey, is this true? And then I can add error messages. So the Boolean would be referencing the hair color, right? It can't, the error would be if it doesn't equal purple. Does that make sense? So here I want to do something like self.hairColor, like if the hair color is not purple, that's bad. That's what I'm saying, right? And that I should get some sort of error messages. I can literally do errors.add for like the hair color attribute, and it should say something like, please dye your hair purple to join the Scouts, right? Something like that, whatever error messages you want. Is that so far so good about the logic and how to add a custom error message? Cool. So if I go back to my cool app, /new. Yeah, good, I have this. I have the boo-boo still in there. If I were to create Scout, it'll say, Campy Bank, hair color attribute, please dye your hair color purple to join the Scouts. Meaning, even if I were to put in a planet like Earth, age 9, hair color green and silver, it'll come back and says, no, fail blog. I can also do Saturn. I don't want to take audience feedback for a planet. I just realized it can go terribly. And then I put purple. Huh, that's weird. That should work. Take a look at that model. The Scouts model. Oh yeah, ugh, it'll never work. That's embarrassing. Cool, and then I should end it, right? Wow, thank you for that. No, 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 10, purple. And then it created it. Does that make sense? I literally just forgot this if statement, so it was like basically never running. I mean, it was always running, rather. Cool? So this is how to literally add a custom validation and therefore a custom error message. Came straight from the docs. You can add multiple, right? I can also validate something else if I wanted to, and then just create another method. There are multiple built-in validators, which is validates with the S, and the custom ones will validate with an E. So let's go through this super quickly, and that is something called numericality. Notice in the beginning of active record validations, I had something like presence, absence, uniqueness. What if I wanted a unique value? Right? Like, I can't make Sailor Earth twice. I would see, how would I use this? I would put validates planet uniqueness true. So far, so good? Let's just say you have to be, I don't know, 21 years old to join the Scouts. I would put some sort of validation on the age, right? Of all of these, which one would refer to some sort of integer or number? So I would put validates age. This just says it must be a number, so it won't accept like a string or anything like that. But I can do validates age numericality, And then see how it says only integer? It could take any of these attributes. So I could do something like validates age, numericality, passing in one of these, like must be greater than or equal to 21. Does anyone want to see it, what it looks like? Yeah, sure. I'll write it in there. Super fast. And then I'll let you go to lunch. So it would literally be boom. It should look like this. Ready? Age. And then I'm going to put greater than or equal to right here. And then put 21. Without specifying that it's integer, it will still always be an integer because the database in the schema says integer. It won't accept it as any other attribute. So I can validate that it's a number, but my database is also validating that it's a number. So that would be a double validation, which is good, but you don't need to. Does that make sense? Yeah. Either one. Go for it. You can chain validations. They're just objects. They're objects. So let's say planet presence true. Boom. I can just throw it inside. Key value pairs and put uniqueness true as well. Say again?
Let's say I want to check for age only if planet is true.
I would put a custom method here that would check that. Did that answer your question? Okay, sure. I would just have another method that would check, right? Like literally def check if other validation is true, and then I would literally do an if statement. If statement where like I would check like this other purple hair. If purple hair is true, because this returns a Boolean, right? You get where I'm going? Like, unless you want this to drag over lunch, we'll talk offline. You're just adding another custom validation to check to see your other validations are working. We'll talk offline.
Is there a way to add a message into the validates?
No, these are built in. If you want your own message, you would literally build your own custom one that checks the exact same thing, and then you add your own error messages. Yeah.
If you mistype validates and you leave off the S, and if it was presence true, it would still work because like planet is an attribute of class scout, right?
I actually don't know if this will still work here.
Because like it's looking for a method called planet. And
Correct.
planet is a method of the class scout.
Right. I don't know if it will actually add the custom like error message. I don't know how far it'll work, but I like where your head's at. I would just simply test that.
Because if that's true, like that's the first thing I dislike about it. Like,
The magic?
it's weird that they put like validating validates.
I don't want to argue about your opinion. Yeah. Say again? Oh, this was literally me giving an example that I can add multiple. Cool? Great. Go to lunch. Enjoy your lunch.